how tech in the classroom can transform engineering colleges and learning, because we see the tech is moving really fast compared to the academic world. And how do you see this tech evolving into the classroom, and how is this going to enhance or improve the education? So, Chakravarthi, we can get started.
Yeah, good afternoon, one and all. So, to evolve, I think we run engineering colleges, so I can tell about how we are performing in our college. So, we start doing it right from the first year by teaching them the basics of a computer science language. It could be C, now it's Python, for example. So when we teach them, we don't teach them as a subject. We teach them as a language where we make them practice a lot. We teach them how to solve the problems, not to learn the format of the program. See, like, how do you solve it? First, the algorithm, identifying the problem, how to solve it, and how to approach that one and, find the solution. So we put them in the labs, especially from the past few years. Before, they used to learn and spend little bit of time in the lab. But now, most of their time is in the laboratory, solving several problems. For example, we have about 800 to 1,000 problems for our first years, where we throw it to the students and they solve it. There are students, I think Charan can say, who solved more than 600 problems also. So it's a challenging for them, who does the most. So by spending more time in the lab and solving, they can improve their tech knowledge, definitely. So, since you asked me about the tech, I answered only, related to the tech. But there is more, which is communication, which we will talk later maybe. Yeah.
Ramesh, your opinion on tech in the classroom?
See, at the end of the day, with all the explosion of online, you think if I have Coursera, if I have all the other online resources, why do I need a teacher, right? I think it's quickly there's a realization that there's no substitute for a structured program. See, often we need some regiment, right? When you do self-paced learning through any of the online resources, it's not regimented. It's very, very self-driven. There's a lot of peer motivation that happens in the classroom. When I'm in a class, I'm part of a group of 40, 50, 60 peers. There's a schedule, there's a program. So there's no substitute for in-class. I think it will not go away anytime soon. It should not go away also. It's a very personal teaching. And if you extend the logic further, it's all about the teacher and the content, right? Yes, tools help. There are all the online, we use Moodle. So everything is on Moodle. And we use PowerPoint slides as much as possible. I come from the tech industry, right? I have slides for my lectures, but I never use slides in the class. I use the blackboard. There's a connect. I feel a connect between when I teach and I also have a very interactive teaching style. I don't write anything and explain. I ask, and based on the answers, I write on the board. Okay. I have something in mind for that day. But most of it, the board gets filled up based on what I ask and what they tell. Now for that conversation, there's no substitute for a blackboard. And so I struggled online. I did use tablets and such but it was a very, nowhere close to my natural rhythm was getting badly affected those 1.5 years. And so there is technology. You have all the tools, you have authoring tools, you have your online content tools, you have used anti-plagiarism tools, follow submissions. Many of our assignments are auto. We have a very strong TA culture in IIIT. Students are TAs for the course. one of my largest courses, I have 13 TAs that help. So, of course, they're all students themselves, right? And techies, so they want to build a lot of the assignments, automated assessments, right? You just submit a harness runs in a harness and then they score it. So we use technology, but I'm saying it's still a supplementary tool at some level, enabling. If it's not there, it's still not so bad. It's the teacher-student connect that's the prime thing in a classroom, right? And if that is not there, tools are all supplementary, right? And if your core is not there, then it's a multiplier by zero effect, right? If there's no core, all the tools can only amplify what is not already there. Only when something is there, you can amplify. When nothing is there, what is it amplify? Right. So tools are necessary, but the primary thing is the teacher-student connect in a classroom.
Yeah, so a very good afternoon, one and all. And first of all, thank you to Karun and Sri Charan for inviting for this particular session. Now, definitely technology or tech is one of the most inevitable and imperative. It plays a very essential role, I would say, for the engineering colleges. The simple example is, as you know, that previously this program was called as Bachelors of Engineering, right? And it was the IITs which came up with the term BTech, that is Bachelor in Technology. And slowly and gradually, all the other universities and institutes are also following this particular thing. So now when we talk about technology, technology doesn't primarily mean only restricted to the modes of teaching and learning process, right? You're using some, let's say, tools, technical tools and other modes of training, right? It is not only restricted to that. But technology is actually next level to engineering, right? Because engineering is basically it is focusing more onto learning of the concepts, right? But after learning of the concepts, what? Are you able to actually apply these concepts into the real environment? That is what is technology all about, right? And with the recent, let's say, a lot of changes and disruption taking place in the engineering institutes, everyone has slowly and gradually identified one important fact, that it's not only about learning of the concepts, right? And that is not what the industry or the society wants. I have a lot of knowledge, but if I'm not able to apply that knowledge is of no use, right? And that is where the technology plays a very, very vital role. So with BTech in place, the engineering institutes are expected to make the students apply their knowledge and come up with more and more innovative and creative solutions, which might make our lives much easier, much faster, and the growth prospects also can be much, much faster. As we can see with the current, as I was just discussing with all of them, that the pandemic had been a boon, right, to the edtech industry. Now, people were able to identify that in this kind of adversity, how we can apply our knowledge, how we can, let's say, use the concepts of engineering in a way that in this situation also we are able to grow. And that is what exactly happened, right? So in a phase where everyone was skeptical, everyone had lost hope, right? Nobody was able to come out of their houses, but still with this kind of application of the knowledge that people had, so they were able to survive and grow, not only survive, but growing in this particular scenario as well. So I think tech definitely plays a very, very important role. And I feel that every engineering college must continuously enhance their ecosystem with the new technology that comes in place. Thank you.
So next question is for Mr. Ramesh. So I should confess by saying that I'm a big fan of IIIT Hyderabad. The reason being is it's exactly started the year I went to engineering here. And I didn't know the value of that, though it was part of the Vision 2020 and all that, where they mentioned the private-public partnership, which is where the university is coming up. So without knowing, so obviously I went to my engineering in JNTU Hyderabad. Luckily, I didn't miss out on this kind of education because I went to US to do my master's, because obviously there was so much of outflow at that point of time. But even after 25 years, I see IIIT Hyderabad as different compared to most of the other institutes, right? Like the teaching methodology or the curriculum and everything is a lot different. Since you already talked about tech, I will not ask on how tech is being used, but just want to understand how is this projectized learning or the practical hands-on experience will help the students, right? Like, is it because the IIIT is getting the cream of students, or is it if this kind of methodology is given to every tier 1, 2, 3, 4, will that be enhancing their education? Your take on that?
So, yes, of course, we do get very good quality students. Today, for our 5-year program, we don't use JEE, but when we're using JEE, for the 4-year program, CS cutoff maybe is around 1,000, 1,200 or so. 5-year program also used to be around 2,500. But we believe when we're coming in there in the top 2,500, going out, they're definitely in the top 500 in the country, for sure. And and we don't talk about the placement numbers, but that's an indicator. We don't talk about it because already like at least half of the batch joins just for a job. And they're already obsessed. I mean, like today, our students are coming in next week. So in the induction, parents, lot of questions are about jobs. And knowing fully well Triple has very good placements. And still they're worried. And like, so we don't want to fuel the placement thing, so we don't talk about our placements at all. But we know they're coming in top 2,500, going out there maybe in the top 500, 600, 700, for sure. The delta comes about in the research-based model. We're a research university primarily. Very few know that. I mean, unlike IITs, Triple IITs don't have a common model. The old 14 Triple IITs and the new 20 are a common model, but the old 14, amongst the 14, there are some 5-6 different models, including pure private. And but we and us and Triple Delhi are the ones that are very primarily research institutions. Triple Delhi came much later. It's very modeled pretty much on Triple Hyderabad. So our courses are offered by the research centers, and our faculty, we don't have departments. Again, it's very unique. No other college has this probably. We didn't want department because department creates those very strong silos, right? There's a very strong mindset of what a department means, HOD and such, becomes a very a bureaucratic thing that impedes many things. So we didn't want departments. We don't have departments even now. And also as a research university, a professor gets attached to a research center based on their interest. It's not an organizational thing. A professor can be part of multiple centers. There's one center primarily they belong to, but they can be part of multiple centers. I'm attached to the Software Engineering Center. I'm also attached to the Center for Innovation Entrepreneurship. Yeah. And I'm also attached to one of the translation centers, the Smart City Living Lab. So in that model, the research centers offer courses. And for us, like from first 1.5 years, we have core courses in the 4-year program also. 5-year program is also BTech and research program, MS by research program. But even in the 4-year program, first 1.5 years, 3 semesters core courses, 4 semesters some core courses, 5th onwards complete electives. There are some combinations they have to meet, but for the 30 courses that they take from the 5th semester onwards, 4th little bit and definitely from 5th, they have about 2,000 courses to choose from. Because each research center offers 4, 5, 6 courses, and there are about 22 centers that we have.
Oh, okay.
And so the research-led model, the courses are coming from research centers. And like, say when we offer a course in NLP, it's offered by a professor that's got a phenomenal body of work in NLP research. Right? Even if they're introducing NLP, even an introduction level course in natural language processing is offered by a professor that's very, very strong in research. And we have a culture of like extensive projects hands-on in the courses. The idea is not to train them for industry. The idea is that we believe that a lot of hands-on work. So we don't teach programming. Our students are probably the best Python programmers when they graduate in the country, especially for AML and such. They're probably the best programmers in the country. We don't teach Python. We teach only C in the first year. And the idea is to teach concepts. Probably nobody uses C in their life. But C is a good language to teach programming concepts. We teach only one language to teach them the programming concepts in the first semester. And then they learn. Because like if an NLP course is being offered or a machine learning course is being offered and there are projects and the projects have to be done in Python, they're expected to learn. If you need a certain framework, math libraries, whatever, they're expected to go pick. Nobody teaches them. We have some tutorials which are their own seniors telling them. Our professors don't, the tutorials are not taken by our professors. Like I said, we have a very strong TA culture. TAs do the tutorials, even where it's required. Not all courses have tutorials. So, because they learn, there is a culture of doing, but they're doing by learning, not by somebody telling them. Right? The specific frameworks, programming, all that they learn and they do. They only taught the concepts in the class, not on how to do a Python program. So they're extremely resourceful. So that's our culture. So it's not that we want projects. That's not our focus. Learning by doing is our focus. And like, so in that process, a lot of hands-on activities. It's a very intense program. Everybody knows that. I mean, my son had an option between Triple IT and BITS. He went to BITS. He knew, who was not in that academically inclined, that Triple IT needs at least 2 to 3 times the effort compared to what he would do in BITS. And it's a well-known fact. 3 hours classwork for a course in a week. It will need at least 3 to 6 hours of additional work. Assignments and lab, not reading. Reading is again on your own time. So I don't think that model is that easily replicable. It is steeped in research.
Okay.
And because we're a research university, all our professors, today we rank among the top maybe 3 or 4 in the country for computer science research. So while the IIIT model is not replicable that easily because you have to be research institution for that, which unfortunately, that's not a primary focus, most of our institutions. The teaching is the focus, not research. But the hands-on model, we should adopt, but we should adopt it meaningfully. I mean, we can't just make a statement that like we will do more hands-on. Then it will become again road-based learning. We will tell how to do the hands-on also. So the hands-on should be truly where we tap into. These are all smart kids, right? Any of our colleges, it doesn't matter if it's the best IIT or any other college, the kids are smart, right? We just have to kind of show them the way, nudge them a little bit. We have to build a culture where they explore and learn, which we don't, unfortunately, because like, again, our system has compulsions. If you don't do well, your university might kind of not give you the right ratings. You may not get NAC accreditation. So all those, like, unfortunately, those visible results matter. So it means that you have to make them do well, make them score well in the exams. But yes, that's important because at the end of the day, the college also has to sustain. But along with that, we need to have a focus where we let them explore and build stuff. It should be, when we say project, it should not be, again, like I said, the natural way of doing it in our environment will be like, that also is taught how to do. If we should treat them to be, get them to be resourceful, get them to tap into their own resourcefulness and do things. Let them explore. Support should be there, but not teach them how to do it. Support them as they do it. That's what I think we need.
Thank you. So coming to check, so in your case, right, like in Narsarapet being in a tier 2 city, right, like they don't have the exposure that's they get in Hyderabad, right, like first of all, and then the socio-economic status, academic backgrounds and all that. How do you see this as a unique problem for like NEC college or any other college?
Right. I mean, so unlike IIITs or IITs where they are more into research, see, in our case, the performance is measured by placements. So 99% of the parents, they look at like, our placement track record, like, which companies are coming to the campus, like, what are the packages. So they think their son career is just that job. So we definitely have to move it in that way, to be with parents, definitely, right? So we train for the placements right from the beginning, starting from, the communication and again, the skill level and the student caliber is definitely different from top IITs down to tier 2 cities. When you look at their MCET ranks, for example, we get students 10,000 to 20,000. And there are certain colleges like university campuses get like below 5,000. So IIITs get below 2,000, 1,000, like that. So definitely their thought process is different. So they are like completely into like, study mode. All these rankers above 10,000 or 20,000, they want to buy hard things. That's how they're being prepared in their plus 1, plus 2, like 11th and 12th grade. That has become a major challenge for us because everything they expected from the faculty. Staff to cover from like chapter 1 to chapter 8 completely, first page to last page. And that was their expectation when I first entered, like, few years ago. Slowly we cut it down, like, even the faculty used to think, sir, why are you wasting time on training? We need to cover syllabus. They used to take 18 weeks per semester to cover the entire subject. I mean, each subject, they used to take 18 hours. So slowly I need to change the faculty mindset and also the student mindset. So now we have come down to like 14 weeks of teaching, 4 weeks of skill training. So within that 14 weeks also, what I have done is like, I added a couple of CRT related skill based subjects because they want to know everything in the subject form. If I say some special class or some special training, if I say like some entrepreneurial activities, people might not come out. So if I put that in that format, then the students will show the interest. So our way of approach is little different, but obviously the outcome is job. And now, as he said, like, there are not that many jobs. We were talking earlier. See, there are only like 15-20% jobs for the engineers. Obviously, the skilled ones get the job, others they don't. So we started our incubation center where they can, come up with their own ideas. We started telling them, why do you want to be employed? Well, you start a company and employ few. With that concept, we have come and started an incubation center in the campus. There are few in the incubation stage. We are supporting them. Even the DST is supported. They sponsored some 2 crore worth to us. So in addition to the jobs, I am trying to add the incubational activities and also some skill trainings. I even encourage them to do their own business. They think I just finished the degree, go take care of my parents' business or something, right? So we tell them okay, even for that you need the skill. You are going there to improve or develop the business, not to just sit and watch somebody collecting the cash or somebody selling. So that's how we try to skill in different levels. We make the students into batches. Some into we want them to get into development companies software development. Some into service industries like TCS, Infosys, and some into incubation, entrepreneurial activities. We try to team them up, with a different skill level from idea to marketing and, technology. We try to group. Of course, they come up with their own groups. Otherwise, our incubation center in charge, the CEO, they group based on the student skill and, they learn the teamwork, all that stuff, Yeah, this is how, we take care.
So, Santosh,
Just to add to that, I don't think even an IIT or IIT is any different in terms of the job application.
Okay, okay.
Students, parents especially, and also most students, at the end of the day, care only for the job. They don't care for the knowledge.
Exactly.
They don't care for what they learn, what they do, how they do. They only care for the job. Is it a well-known company? What the salary?
Right.
That's all. And unfortunately,
exactly.
So the mindset is no different.
So
The social
probably
mindset,
in coming years, that will change,
hopefully, the change. Yes.
So Santosh, I think in your case, private universities, right? I think that the challenge is more different because the volume of students that come into the enrollments and all that, and then universities are not only for employability, right? There should be different outcomes. So how do you approach the skilling programs or even that think about, because you are into the placements, right? So how do you think about the skilling or enhancing the learning in the university? What is your take on that?
So see, any educational setup has 3 major role objectives. So as Mr. Chakravarthi also said that they are taking a lot of initiatives to help the students to choose up a career, right? So the education setup has 3 role objectives, as I said in other forums as well. The first is employability, second is innovation, and third is research, right? So as we say that to build up a nation's economy, there are 3 major players. One are the torch bearers, second are the executors, and third are the enhancers, right? Now the torch bearers are the ones who are the initiative takers, right? And that is where entrepreneurship comes into play. So when the education setup is focusing on innovation, right? So they are actually helping or assisting the students to go for entrepreneurship, right? Which is very, very important, right? Because ultimately every organization will sustain only if there was somebody who took the initiative to start the organization, right? So we realize this fact that the education setup has to assist the student in terms of innovation so that they can become future entrepreneurs. Second is, as we were discussing about IIIT, IIT and other reputed institute of eminence, right, across the country, which the government initially formed all these institutes. These are the enhancers of the national economy. So what happens is, let's say they focus more on the research part. So as sir rightly said that employability, everyone is obsessed about employability, right? Because in India, we are basically insecure. That after spending so much of money, what? Will I get a return or not, right? But research is not meant for that. Research is actually, these researchers, they basically either come back into the education system so that they can enhance the existing education system to meet the future requirement of the society and the industry as a whole. right? And that is the main purpose, and that's why means because we are hiring a lot of IIT, MTech people, right? So they are wanting to go further for doctorate and postdoc and everything, and then they want to come back into education system, right? So, so we as an institute, we also focus on research, right? So we have a separate research and development cell. So which is actually helping the students right from the first semester to take up what is the concept of research, and slowly and gradually we handhold them and take up through the entire research and patenting and all those process. And third, majorly is the employability part. So as I said, executors, right? So entrepreneurs are there, enhancers are there, but then we require people who can run the business, right? And those are basically executors. We might not be obsessed with, we should not or we must not be obsessed with employability, but the real fact is that almost 80 to 90% people are going to get into that category itself, right? So we cannot ignore that big mass that is going to come out. So if we say that in, let's say 14 lakh engineers are coming out every year, how many of them would be capable of doing research? Right, so sir rightly mentioned that his son went to BITS Pilani, right, rather than triple IT. Now the students themselves also have a gut feeling inside that what I will be able to do, right, or what I want to do. So not everybody would want to go for research, not everybody would want to go for entrepreneurship. There would be majority of the mass would want to go for employability. So as a private university, what we are doing is we don't, let's say, force the student to groom them as per our setup. What we try to do is we check the aspiration of the student, what the student wants to do after completion of their graduation or post-graduation. And based on that, we come up with a setup which will actually help them to chase or to achieve that particular aspiration that he or she is carrying. So for that particular reason, we have almost 40 cells in the university. We have 39 institutes across 21 faculties, but we have 40 cells. So we don't, I would say, ignore any of the aspect that the student would want to go for, right? So we have training and placement cell, we have career development cell, we have entrepreneurship development cell, we have research and development cell, we have event cell, we have competitive exam cell, we have army armed force cell, right? So there are a lot of people who would want to go into defense services. They don't want to go to a corporate or something, right? So we are assisting them also. So such 40 cells we have. And definitely the mass is also huge. So we would want to cater to each and every, the aspiration of each and every student. Yeah.
I think just keeping time in check, maybe I'll have one last question. So one of the things, right, like recently there was this Reddy Committee Report which said, I think central government also approved, saying that I think it's better to enhance the existing colleges rather than creating new colleges and all that. But we do still see some colleges are coming and all that stuff. So I want like each one of your opinion on this one. Like, what is your take on it, right? Like to think about how to enhance and empower the existing colleges, or right, like is it good that we have to create a new bloodstream or something? Just want to understand your thought process on that. And Ramesh, maybe.
I have very strong views on that. See, I think we took the IT bandwagon a little too far, nationally, and especially in the southern states, and especially our two states. I think, yes, there was a need, there was an opportunity in the 90s, and there was a need. But I think it became very, very kind of nobody guiding what the real need was. I mean, like if we have today only 15-20% of the graduating students placed, it is because there's a huge overcapacity. Somebody should have guided the process and said, this is what we need. And like, but I think somewhere there was aspiration and like, so since we needed to do something quickly, I think it just went on very unchecked and like a lot of colleges got opened. Of course, in the last 5-6 years, some cleanup has happened naturally because like if you had capacity for, like, if we just take this state, capacity of almost 250,000 seats and only 100,000 are getting filled up. And there was a natural cleanup happening. Right? Many of the not so good colleges got, many shut down, many reduced their seats and such. So, but we could have avoided that because that's not a present situation. That somebody starting a college and shutting down, and you can't shut down in a clean way. There are students currently. So that mess got created, but some cleanup is happening, has happened. But I think we definitely need fresh blood. but not more of what we have. We did very fresh thinking, right? Again, I say there's a dichotomy here, right? On one side, it's education. So it's education mandate. On the other side, it's a business also, right? All said and done, it's a business. Somebody's investing money, time, effort. It's also a business. That balance is very hard to strike in the education environment. Like if you want to go for quality, you have to invest. Now, who's going to invest, right? And when you look at it as a business, when you look at it as an educationist, you want to invest. But when you think of it as a business, where's the money going to come from, right? Where do you put the money from, and how do we make the money? Right? Improving quality doesn't mean you're going to make money. The students might graduate and do well in life, may do well for society, for industry and such, but may not necessarily benefit the organization. So in that process, investment in quality education is very weak because there are no incentives. Now, if you look at what Triple IT has done, it can't happen in the private sector. Who can come and say like today we can say like today we're outside the government, but government gave us 60 acres land, 2 buildings at that time. Between the two, it's almost like 500,000 square feet. In 98, built buildings. Now, imagine if somebody like the same institution was mooted as a private institution, who's going to fund it? Right? So we have 2 examples in Hyderabad, right? ISB and Triple IT. Triple IT started in 98, ISB started in 2001. They first started around the same time. Triple IT came up off the ground immediately because government said like we want it out this year itself, and then found the land with buildings and got it out kind of off the ground within a few months. ISB said we're going to build a greenfield campus. They had a different vision for the institute. So they took 2 years to build it out. If not, they could have started in 99 also. They were ready in 99. It just took them 2 years, so 2001 is when they took the first batch in. But then ISB started off those days when college fees were like 40, 50,000, their fees was 10 lakhs. But their model allowed it, right? And there was no private player. It was a private institution, but no private player needing to profit from it. So for them, it was a pure non-profit institution, but it still had to support itself. So they had to charge 10 lakh fees, which was those days like astronomical. I don't know what IIM fees were, but I'm sure it's not no more than 1 or 2 lakhs at the time. And but then they needed that because they know the source. Yes, they did get the donors initially, which helped with the infrastructure part of it. Operation, they still need to. Today, it's 50 lakhs, probably one of the most expensive programs in the country. And but their model allowed them to charge more, and there was a way that can be recouped, and they didn't have profit motives. They didn't need to make money because it's not it was a private university, but not a private institution in the sense like nobody needs to make money out of it. So, but it had support itself, and it was an expensive operation. Triple IT was a more social, but then government invested a lot, like land and buildings upfront. Like so we didn't need to invest anything in capital. It came as a grant from the government. But you can't create such an institution in the pure private setup. So there is a problem. We need quality, but how is that quality? First thing, we need people that want the quality, right? Yeah. Educationists, which I'm sure there are some number, right? We need that first. And then a model on how are you going to support that efforts to create quality? Because it is cart before the horse. You have to create quality, you have to invest in it. It may take 5-10 years before there may be any returns at all. So I think it's a hard problem. It's very nice to say we need to invest in quality and but it's not an easy problem, especially in the private sector.
So your take on that, sir?
Yeah, well said. And see how many students are looking for quality and are they ready to pay for it? For example, IITs, Triple ITs, they spend about 2.5 lakh rupee per student per year, or maybe more than that. 3 lakhs. Whereas private engineering colleges, of course, varies from state to state. The max I know is about 1.6 lakh, least is 35,000. So we should definitely invest for the quality, but who is going to be ready to take that loss, that huge loss? If it is break even, nobody would care because definitely service is the first motto. Of course, people expect some returns because of their investment, time, efforts, lot of other things. So that is the difficult situation in private sector. Not everybody is ready to invest. And we should definitely allow the new players because there may be somebody who really wanted to invest a lot of money. Some people, they want to spend like hundreds of crores to start an institution out of passion. So we should do that, but in a controlled way. And again, private colleges, we cannot generalize to improve the quality because it's linked to their fees and that is linked to the government incentives. So as long as it's linked to the government incentive, you can never, It's very difficult. I can't say never. It's very difficult. Very few can do that. So because I know we are struggling, like even to pay salaries, since we are established in other sectors, we were able to pay on-time salaries and all. What about somebody who has just a college, that is the only source? How are they going to, pay the salaries, spend for the infrastructure, the quality? And again, the professors, they range from 20,000 per month to 3-4 lakhs, 5 lakhs per month. So how are we going to accommodate that kind of quality? So that is a big question. And I would definitely say we need, new players. Like Tech Mahindra started one beautiful campus. Maybe some big corporates, government should look at who is starting, what is their plan, how much is the investment, things like that. It's not like, okay, you just give the college, they invest 10 crores, start a college, they can never give quality.
Your take on this one?
So I am of the opinion that restricting the number of colleges is not a solution, but then coming up with a stringent regulation, that is very, very important. Right. So it's like I know that in 2003, around 2001 or 2, around, I think privatization of engineering colleges and everything started. 99 something, I'm not very sure, 98 around. So with the, let's say, allowing privatization in education sector, it actually helped a lot of students. Previously, there were only limited number of seats, right? Now I want to do engineering, right? I might not have cleared the entrance exam or something because some of the other reason, right? And then still I want to do engineering. So with privatization, it actually helped a lot of students, and I don't think that any of the engineering student who is right now passed out before 5 years, he's just sitting idle at home, right? Because I have almost 10 batches which have come out, and all of the students are doing very good. They might not have been placed it through campus drive, right? But then they're still doing good. That means we have actually given them a source, or maybe we have enriched and enhanced them to such an extent that they can survive and they can have a good living after completion of their graduation or post-graduation. But yeah, as rightly said, that it has to be in a controlled way, right? So once you allow the private colleges to come into play, it is important that there are stringent regulations. The government also need to continuously monitor it, whether they are able to deliver what is desired. Right. Secondly, before giving permission to any of the private institutes, it is important to check the sustainability graph as well, whether they will be able to sustain or not. So as for entrepreneurship, we check, right? Whenever the startup is coming, we check whether these guys are going to sustain or not, right? Whether they have that kind of knowledge, they have that kind of bandwidth, wherein they will be able to grow exponentially over a period of years. So the same screening has to be done for the private institutes itself. But I think with the kind of population that India is having, the number of institutes are still less. Right, 60% of our population is still in the rural area, right? And we don't even know how many rural students or youth living in rural area are getting educated. Most of them are getting into business at the age of 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, because they don't have any other option to go for. But then they are doing good after 10 years down the line, right? So many people who are uneducated, they are big businessmen, and they are hiring IIT, NIT, and private university all graduates. So I think number of institutes must increase, but in a regulated way.
Professor Srinivas here from AC Engineering Hyderabad. Nice panel discussion about Karan, the last question about the engineering colleges increasing or decreasing. I think no. Right, mentioned Mr. Santosh from 97 onwards. No, in particular in the combined state of Andhra Pradesh. Before 97, we were having 16 to 17 engineering colleges in the state of combined Andhra Pradesh. 97 government of Andhra Pradesh started increasing their colleges. At the time, I was there in the campus, JNT campus. All the students of that batch made a big strike. Almost from Kokotapalli Housing Board colony to entire JNT was blacked. Because of don't allow engineering colleges, private engineering colleges, because there is no difference between JNT campus students, JNT outside campus students. That's why that was a step moved. That is a great step by other point of the government of Andhra Pradesh. Because of that, colleges are opened in rural colleges. Rightly mentioned by Santosh, 60% of population in rural colleges only. Before that, I worked in a college in Andhra Pradesh where it's situated in a very little place called as Nambur, Vasireddy Venkataraja Institute of Technology, VVIT. I proudly say, because of that move, almost we produce good quality students from that village. Almost we can say, we cannot expect a student from that village got a package of 24 to 36 lakhs packages from that village. That will happen because of these colleges only. And also a lot of employability. If you establish engineering college, I think Chakravarthi knows, almost there are 250 to 300 faculty. Another 250 to 300 faculty from non-teaching supporting staff. Almost all it's directly for 500, indirectly for another 500,000 employability for with an engineering college. And of course, a lot of benefits to the students. Now, my question to this panel. No, all senior, most different stakeholders from different organizations. In early days of our placements, since I'm a placement director, I'm asking the question relating to placements only. In 90s and in the beginning of 2000, the campus placement is like this, only paper-based, only quant, reason, verbal, correcting the papers, announce the results, that's all. After that, computer-based test, again, quant, reason, and verbal, again, shortlisting, and then. Thanks to TCS for introducing Code Vita, then the entire scenario changed to competitive coding. Thanks to Wipro introducing a concept known as the project-based learning through Talent Next program, that scenario changed. And thanks to pandemic, completely changed offline to entire online system, online ecosystem. Now, again, with this scenario, my question to all the panel members is, what may be the next step for the placement scenario? How it will be? Like internship, like mentioned by Mr. Chekri about incubations. How it will go? How can you guide us? Thank you.
Thank you.
See, I'll tell you one situation which was I was discussing yesterday also, that with all the new initiatives which is coming, right? New national education policy, startup ecosystem, lot of other things, right? The value of degrees are going to go out. It's going to become obsolete. That is what I think. I might be wrong. But what I feel is now the companies would want to hire directly after 12th standard. It might take some time, but this is what I feel, right? That now if you see TCS and Wipro, right? I was discussing with one of the executives of TCS. He clearly said that we don't require BTech guys, right? We don't require BTech guys, but then we want huge numbers. And we want huge numbers with certain level of talent, right? And as engineers are, you get in kilos, right? In India. So they said that why don't you get with the best of the talent, right? If I'm offering 3.2 lakhs package and still I'm getting best of the talent, I would definitely want to go for it. Then I'll not think that whether I require BTech or not, right? And second option was that they required 12 plus 4. Because for H1 and all those things, because they depute them to other countries as well, right? So their minimum criteria was 12 plus 4. But as you see that most of the IT mass recruiting companies, they would hire the student and then they would want them to unlearn and then relearn, right? So eventually, and now as I was discussing that 3-4 days back, I was talking to the IT company owners. And they were saying that now the time is such that it is going to be very, very difficult to predict the future. Now the strategic leaders are unable to devise a strategy for the next year as well, because the environment is so dynamic. With ChatGPT and other things coming into play, you will not be able to predict that what is going to happen next. So it will become more difficult decision to invest in a particular direction, right? So let's say if you invest so much and then after, for example, now everyone is investing in electric car, right? Now everybody is doing electric. Now let's say after 5 years, the technology is upgraded. It comes to some different level wherein even electric is not required, right? Maybe with hydrogen cell and a lot of technology is coming up, right? Yeah, so drone is also there. People are coming up with an option of water also, right? With water also you can run the vehicles. So if I invest substantially in a particular direction on talent, on technology and everything, there is a possibility that after 5 years it might become obsolete. So that might not be a sustainable business decision, right? So what I feel is that in the coming times, after 12th, the companies would want to hire the candidates, put them on board, give them practical experience. Along with them, the student will be able to pursue a degree. So placement might not become a problem, but yeah, it depends upon the requirement also in the industry, right?
So I have a slightly different view. I don't think, thankfully, visa is a reason that they need a 4-year degree. So they can't hire after 12th. Okay, they might be compelled business-wise to hire, but they can't because they need a 4-year degree, which they can't give. I believe education, like I was telling some time back also, 21 years, all the things in the world around 21 years of like for different reasons, that being the age is because mind and body is still developing. So we don't want to mess with the development. Put them in a job, a 9-to-5 job, we're messing with the development. So what's the hurry? Let them learn. It's like everything need not be towards a particular job or a skill. A lot of happens. Like, I mean, in the pandemic, we realized one of the first things that hit us hard was we're a residential campus. Our students are on campus. And like, the first thing we realized was like, it was hard-hitting realization. Lot of learning happens outside the classroom in a campus like ours. Lot of learning happens outside the classroom. Now, a Coursera can teach probably, even if not as well, what's happening in the classroom. What about what's happening outside the classroom? A lot of peer learning happens. They're not just talking about movies and such when they're meeting wherever outside. And lot of learning happens outside the classroom, both soft and hard. The concepts and subject learning, and also a lot of the soft learning happens. So I think we shouldn't mess with that. I'm not a big fan of internships is one thing, but a job in the early ages is not a good thing. And thankfully things like visa and such, like Santosh pointed out, companies won't jump and take up that possibility, even if it might work for them. Which is good. And I also believe education need not have a very specific purpose. Education is education. So it's okay if they don't get a job. They did mechanical engineering, they didn't get a job in mechanical, they went to do something else, they became an entrepreneur selling food. It doesn't matter, right? I think there is a certain conditions that happen in those 4 years, right? They learn something, but it's not just the learning of those mechanical concepts or the subject and such. But there's a lot of things they learn to learn. It's a big learning. I mean, like the whole IT industry depends on the fact that when they say they're looking at aptitude and such, it's not aptitude alone they care for. The ability to learn is the most important skill in IT industry especially. In other industries, maybe like you get into one type of a factory and like maybe it doesn't change a whole lot over a period of time, but IT industry changes every 5 years so much. And learning to learn is a big resource for anybody. If you have the ability to learn, you can do anything. I mean, like if they're switching and becoming like, as a mechanical engineer, they're now suddenly deciding to go into healthcare. That's because the ability to learn is their primary skill. So they can pick up healthcare. They can pick up food business. They can pick up anything. So I think if we teach them to learn, I think that is a more lasting skill than the specific things they pick up. So yes, I think placements, there will be pressure always. There is pressure. I don't think when we had like 20 colleges in the case, I remember when I went to a university college, there was no placement at all. We'd apply for all the exams and then go write and then find something. And so it's a process even then. When there were like 20 colleges in the state, it was no different. And when there are now 300 colleges in the state, it's no different. So there will be a demand-supply gap always, and which means there will be pressure on placements. But I think as institutions, we can do the best we can to prepare them for their kind of careers. And not, yes, society, parents, everybody looks for, and the only indicator in any institution is the placement. But I think we should balance that. That is there, but also look at what kind of skills can we get them for life, not just for the first job. Like they say, like our current director, PJ Narayanan, says this all the time. We prepare our students for their last job. That's our internal philosophy in the way we do. Like we put a lot of emphasis on human values. We do many things. And our emphasis on learning to learn. It's a huge emphasis on learning to learn. Our whole model, like we don't teach Python, and yet they are the best Python programmers coming out in the graduating class in the country. Is because our emphasis on learning to learn, teaching them how to learn. And they learn also. So many things we do, like the phrase he uses a lot, which all of us kind of believe, we are preparing them for the last job, not for the first job.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now the job market may be little bit low down. Maybe that's why you might be thinking like, what is the future? But I would say it's not going to die. Definitely the number of jobs is going to go up year by year. maybe after 6 to 8 months, even Microsoft is laying off. It's not because they don't have business or, it's just sentiment. If Microsoft lay off, some people, then the small companies will also try to save some money by laying off. But definitely the jobs are going to be there. And again, the skilled people. There is a point, a time when everybody got a job, regardless of their skill, because they want number of people. Later, they realize, because once they say put it to a US client, they look at a quality. Then they realized, okay, we need a quality people. So for quality students, there is definitely a good future and career. And again, coming to that 12th grade or a degree, a few years ago, companies like TechM and these people, they started hiring more degree students, thinking they can give 3 lakh package. 50, 60,000 less. They started hiring, but what happened? They stopped doing that because they don't have that skill. See, once they talk to the 12th graders, they will know their quality, their attitude and their age, it's young, basically, 12th grade. See, in the engineering 4 years, we know what kind of efforts we are putting, whatever outcome they are seeing right now. They may be thinking it's bad or excellent. But that is where it started. There are so many changes happened. We are training them in many ways, like communication or their attitude, culture, there are many things. So I definitely think the market is going to be there. And again, we need to assess every 6 months, every year, we need to get in touch with the corporate all the time, see what they are looking for. And if not jobs, again, higher studies. If not higher studies, the entrepreneurship. See, we try to do, as he said, we try to do our best. If there are no jobs, no jobs. Like even during our time, out of 70 computer science students, only 6-7 people got jobs. SRM, which is a top university now, they never provided jobs at that time. So it just, even parents go by time. If all the colleges are not providing jobs, what will they do? They just stop asking about jobs. If there are some colleges, providing many jobs and some no, then they try to prefer going to the best college. So, as always, we try our best and skill them. We teach the life skills. And if not in the campus, they will go out of the campus and, search on their own.
One question from my side. Sure. A quick one. This is about the finishing school. I'm more on the recruitment side, the placement side, where we are placing people into the companies. And 70% of them, they don't even know what they're written in their own resume. Because somebody else must have prepared the resume or some online resume. They just submit. And when you ask them the question of their own resume, they don't know. So is there anything that you would like to throw light on that you are doing that all can be done that will help solve this problem? And I'm not saying this that maybe at AAA that's a different story. There are strong candidates are in there, but institutions like ours, there where 50-60% of the student body is like that. So is there any program that you are running?
Yeah, what you're saying is true because they don't focus much on that. They even copy somebody's resume, change the name. Some people, they even forget to change the name. So that these things are happening. But yeah, see, they need corporate interaction, number one. See, we need to, of course, we do some, but of course, we also need to improve. We need to bring the corporate HR people or, some managers, interact with the students, that way they will know what market is, how the market is, what they are looking at. If the academic professor tells them about job market, they just laugh because they think they don't know anything. And again, professors in IITs and all are there by choice, and Tier 2 they are by chance. So I hope you know the difference. So even these people, they tried to get the big jobs and they couldn't, and they settled down in teaching. So we have to put efforts not only on the students, even on the staff, because it has to be through the staff, not some CEO comes and try to implement things. It has to be done through the faculty. So for those faculty, we need to train them first, make them to talk about resumes, and we need to start skilling them right from the first year. And they need to make the resume in the first year. Every year they need to update. It's not that in the final year the company is coming, I make the resume. Every year they need to work on their resume, like what have I done this year? Okay, I have done this certification, for example, like Python certification, just put it in there. I have done the internship, just put it in there. See, that's how they need to work on the resume each year, and that way they will be prepared and they know what they have put in. So we shouldn't do the last minute thing. You are getting all those last minute resumes, which is why you must be thinking, what is this happening? So yeah, I think that's it from me.
I also tell when I meet kids, generally anybody, for advice and such, and when they show the resume, I tell them what is this unique in this resume that nobody in your class has or in your batch has. Forget nobody in your batch has. Most likely 80% of the batch has the exact same resume. I've done this course, I've done this certification, I've built this small project. And I think Chakri rightly said, they should build a personal profile. I mean, not just do the same thing the whole batch is doing. Yes, some things, everything they do, some others may also be doing. But they should have picked a combination that is unique to them. And that's very important, I think. But yeah, it's easier said than done.
I'd just like to add 1 minute. So it's like, see, the ideal way is definitely to groom and mentor the student rigorously from the first day itself. Ideal way. Right? But with looking at the mass of the students that we have, the number of faculties that we have, and the faculties, as rightly said by Mr. Chakravarthi, that many of the faculties are not even motivated also because they have not come by choice, right? They might be forced. And the same is the case with the student also, right? So it is very important that, first of all, purpose identification and then goal setting. These two things are very, very important. If you can inculcate this thing into the student, automatically then you don't have to do anything. You just have to guide them. Now, when we talk about IITs, triple ITs, the students who are coming to these premium institutes, they are working since so many years to get into this institute. So their purpose is very clear that I want to get into this, and that's why they are working so hard. And once they land up into that institute, they know that no, I want to now utilize this time. I want to do everything that the professor is going to say us. So there the effort of professor in terms of pushing the student is also less as compared to in other private universities. In other private universities, it's like, first of all, the professor himself is not there by choice many a times, right? And the student is also not by choice. Right? The student is saying that, okay, my parents pushed me that you have to do a degree, so that's why I'm doing a degree, right? But that doesn't mean that the student is not having the capability. The problem is the student doesn't have a purpose at that point of time. Now, these backbenchers, once they get into the corporate world, they do brilliantly well, even better than the IITs or the IIMs, right? Because they have identified their purpose by that time. So the mentoring is very much required right from the first day itself, so that you can make them realize that what is the purpose, and then they can set a goal. And after that, no matter how much guidance you give, they will definitely blindly follow it. वो बोलते हैं कि गुरु एक बार मैंने आपको मान लिया, right? So then I will, even if you tell me wrong things, I'll do it because I have considered you as my guru. So that is not there in private university students, right? So that's I would say that it has to be started from the day one itself.
It's actually taking from what's happening in the world today. By the way, my name is Anil Chiravuri. I am with byteXL. It's actually taking from your point about learn by learning. The pace of world is changing so fast that unless students change their way of thinking, how the way they learn, they are going to be struggling as they go forward in life. So what are the experience that you all have? When changes, many of them have come by learn by rote when they come in. But they've now had to change. You all had made that big transition to learn by learning. And that's something I think we need to spread that skill of learn by learning and make it a part of the value system. What is the learning? I mean, your experience around that?
So there's one thing that we structured early on. I mean, before you and I joined, the institute had structured we had some phenomenally good faculty in the early days who went on to become directors and deans. So, and of course, Professor Rajedi, I mean, CMU. So his experience, I mean, when he became chairman, when government brought him in, he was already like 65 years old. Today he's 87 years old. And so all his experience, 40 years of experience in research in the US, and all that come into play. But one example of trying to do things differently, we do these IT workshops. And the idea is that like all concepts, like from operating system to databases to web programming to many things are taught just by telling them to build something. You're building database, teach them just the basics of SQL and make them build a small SQL application. So they introduce different concepts are introduced in the first year, first semester and second semester, the 2 IT workshops. And in the second year, when they do a database programming course, right, which goes into all the deeper concepts and such, they already know how to write a small database program. When they go into operating system, they already done something with shell scripting and such. When they go into any of those, the IT workshop introduces them, and they're all doing very minimal things are taught, and the whole thing is building something. And they build so I think that's one thing that unlearns them in terms of the road base. They're all coming from the Fiji, Chaitanya, Narayana quota system, right? Which is all they've just been driven to answer multiple choice questions. So you have to unlearn that. So this IT workshop, I believe in a way, it's a bridge for us in the first year, where they unlearn, because here nobody's telling them what to do. You just taught them the basic SQL commands and given them a program, now go build it. Now you have to think, okay, something was taught, nobody told them how to do it. What was taught is what they need, but they have to apply that now to do it. I think very quickly, they kind of come out of that mindset into this mindset. There are other things also, I'm sure, but I think that's one particular thing that brings about that transition, and we do that in the first semester itself.